This woman hid her son in a metal trash can for 8 months. And when she was questioned by the police, she denied that she even had a son. Her name is Sushi Staples. She's 37 years old from Illinois. Okay, so supposedly what happened was she left to go run some errands and left her children there until she comes back. She had a firearm in the home. He got a hold to the firearm. His name is Zion. And he fired it and shot himself and unalived himself. The daughter calls the mother and tells the mother that Zion's gone. And she thought, well, gone where? And the daughter had to explain, no, he's bleeding on the floor. He's not alive. So she goes and buys a metal trash can, puts him in that trash can, and stores him in the basement for 8 months. She told a friend that Christmas will never be the same, so I guess this happened around Christmas time. And the friend asks, what do you mean? And she explains to the friend what happened. The friend reported to the police. The police showed up at her house. And when they did, she said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have a son. Even when they said, okay, so you don't have a son named Zion? No, I don't have a son. Well, can we search your basement? No, you cannot. Not unless you have a search warrant. So they get a search warrant and return the next day. And they find Zion in the basement in a metal trash can. Yes, she was arrested and she only got 2 years in prison and she's trying to get out early. But the fact that she only got 2 years, I can even understand if she just called the police after it happened, even though she left it in the home unattended, left them unattended. But 2 years, keeping him stored in a can for 8 months and then denying him that she even had a son, that's just crazy to me.
Tonight at 5, a person of interest is now an accused killer. 33-year-old Maxwell Anderson is charged in the death of 19-year-old Shade Robinson.
Fox 6's Durante Matthews was in the courtroom today and joins us live now to break down what happened.
Yeah, and Bri and Steph, it was a really difficult experience for Shade Robinson's family today, having to sit there in the courtroom and listen to all the gruesome details surrounding her death. And now that they say that Anderson is charged, they now want a conviction.
This sick son of a is gonna pay.
Barely speaking above a whisper.
This is justice for Shade.
And fighting back tears.
Who the would do something like this to my beautiful baby?
Sheena Scarborough.
She hurt nobody.
Was pushing forward for her daughter, 19-year-old Shade Robinson. Friday, Robinson's family sat in court and heard the grim details surrounding her death, while staring at the man accused of taking her life, 33-year-old Maxwell Anderson.
The allegations in the complaint are abhorrent. It is the highest level of violence imaginable.
Prosecutors say Anderson and Robinson were going on a date Monday evening on April 1st. The state says they went back to Anderson's Southside apartment around 9 o'clock, where they say he killed her between then and early Tuesday morning. They say he then dismembered her body and scattered pieces around the county.
The defendant did a tremendous amount of work to try to cover up the crime, including lighting Miss Robinson's vehicle on fire.
Last week, police found and connected a severed human leg in Cudahy and a foot in Milwaukee to Robinson. After text messages and witness statements linked the two together, Anderson was arrested April 4th during a traffic stop. He's now charged with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and arson.
Shade was more than a person. She was an angel. Not having her right now is very painful.
Family says the entire timeline has them shaken.
Imagine trying to bury your niece with no body for the service. I need justice for Shade.
And they want the person responsible to pay. And Anderson's attorney also tried to get that first-degree intentional homicide charge dismissed, saying there wasn't enough evidence to prove it, but that was dismissed. And he's in jail tonight on a $5 million cash bond. That is, his attorney also tried to get reduced to $500,000, and that request was also dismissed. He's due back in court April 22nd. Live outside the Milwaukee County Courthouse, Durante Matthews.
California is a horrible place. This woman's name is Dean Blakely. She woke up in the morning and thought to herself, I'm gonna drive around the neighborhood and see if anybody got any packages and I'm gonna steal their package. And she saw a house that had a package out front. She stole the package. She put it in her car. And when she got ready to drive away, the victim that she stole from stepped in front of her car and said, give me back my package. So what did she do? She had a dilemma. Would she give the woman back her package and live the rest of her life? Or would she run the woman over, putting her in critical condition where she would later die from her injuries and then face murder charges? The second option is the one she took. She ran the woman over, and the woman died 2 weeks later after surgery. And now she's facing first-degree murder charges over a package. Now, the package could have had a t-shirt in it. The package could have had a pair of jeans in it. Imagine dying over something, not dying, imagine dying over something that was less than $100. Imagine facing life in prison over something that was less than $100. Like, people do not think about their future, man. They don't. Please think about your future. We were all young and dumb before.
A 19-year-old man is charged with capital murder for shooting and killing a 78-year-old Lyft driver during a robbery. Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Hayes.
And I'm Steve Eager. It's 9 o'clock. The victim was found shot to death in the parking lot of a budget hotel in Northeast Dallas. His vehicle and wallet were missing. Hours later, the suspect was arrested on a separate charge. And police say he admitted to murder. Fox 4's Peyton Yeager live in Dallas with the story. Peyton.
Stephen, hours after the murder, the 19-year-old was arrested for unlawful possession of a weapon. And when police searched him, they found the victim's wallet. And that's really what connected all of the dots here. Now, I spoke with the victim's daughter today briefly. She tells me she lost an amazing father. Dallas police say 78-year-old Mohammed Taghi Haddad Farshi was driving for the rideshare company Lyft when he was shot and killed during a robbery early Saturday morning. His last passenger, 19-year-old Maurice Parker, is now accused of murdering Haddad Farshi and taking his wallet, phone, and vehicle rented to him as a Lyft driver. Just before 4 a.m. Saturday, Haddad Farshi was found fatally shot in the parking lot of a Budget Suites in Northeast Dallas. Investigators processed the scene, pulling surveillance video from the front office. Just hours later, officers were called back out to the Budget Suites Saturday night. A woman told 911 a young man came outside his second-floor room and fired a handgun at the ground in the courtyard with children nearby. Police confirmed the room was being rented by Maurice Parker. Officers arrested him and located drugs and a handgun. They also found Haddad Farshi's wallet. Detectives say Parker eventually admitted to the murder and stealing the car, later ditching it in a nearby parking lot.
Danielle Cherokaya Johnson, a 34-year-old woman from Woodland Hills, Los Angeles. This is a story of how it's better to ruin everybody's life instead of being accountable and atoning for your mistakes. It all began at 3 o'clock in the morning when Cherokaya Johnson was arguing with her boyfriend, her live-in boyfriend, in front of her 2 daughters. But she was still married to another man. She claims she was in the process of getting a divorce, but we'll never know the truth about that. And the paternity of the 2 daughters, we'll never know the truth about that. But let me continue. This is 29-year-old Jalen Cheney. He's a kind, sweet young man who's delusional enough to think that he's going to have a family with a woman who's not yet divorced, who believes that he shouldn't put hands on a woman, shouldn't raise his voice at a woman, and should always show a woman respect. And that logic got him stabbed to death. Because, you know, in the world we live in, women think they're going to get in a man's face, they're going to raise their voice, they're going to put their hands on him, and he's going to be a gentleman and take that. And this man was a gentleman, and he took that, and he took a couple knife wounds, and then he took a fall face first and bled out in a pool of his own blood. The neighbors heard the commotion, and brainwashed by social media and television and movies, they thought he was attacking Danielle, but nah, she stabbed him to death in front of her kids, you know, like excellent mothers do. Stab a man to death in front of your children. That's not going to traumatize them. Nah, it's not going to traumatize them. They cool. Children witness murders all the time, right? Wrong. She knew what she did was wrong, so she fled before the police could arrive. And when the police arrived, the police found a bloody scene. The live-in boyfriend was in a pool of his own blood, stabbed to death and not responsive. But Danielle hit the freeway with her 8-year-old and her 8-month-old daughters. And the voices told her that it was time to kick her children out the car. So that's what she did. She kicked her 8-year-old and her 8-month-old out of the vehicle. And the 8-year-old, being the loving, caring sister that she is, clutched the 8-month-old baby and held on as tight as she could. But when you fall out of a Porsche on the 405, you tend to lose your grasp on whatever you're holding in your arms. And she lost her grasp on her 8-month-old sister, and her sister was crushed to death. But the 8-year-old survived. She had some injuries, but she survived. The mother, on the other hand, mother of the year, she sped off in her Porsche, not worrying about what happened to her babies, not worrying about stabbing her live-in boyfriend to death, not worrying about leaving the door open so the neighbors could see, not worried about nothing, because it's all about her, right? It's all about her. She sped down the 405, and then the weight of her deeds hit her. She knew that she was going to be charged with 3 counts of murder because she pushed her children out of a moving Porsche on the 405. She stabbed her living boyfriend to death, and she don't want to face the consequences because accountability is kryptonite. So she sped into a tree at a high speed and took her own life. Let me tell you the only sad part of this story. Well, there's multiple sad parts, but the saddest part of this story is that people listened to this woman. She was an astrology influencer. People listened to her about their life, their path, what they should do. And based on her Louis Vuitton bag and her luxurious hair, they thought that she was somebody with knowledge to share that could help other people improve their quality of life. But the internet is full of fakes and phonies. People who try so hard to look like they got it all figured out, don't. They say you can judge a tree by its fruit. Well, her fruit is a bunch of dead people and a bunch of ruined lives. She ruined her husband's life by running off with his kids. She ruined her living boyfriend's life by stabbing him to death. She ruined her children's life by kicking them out of a moving Porsche on a 405. She's just a tornado of destruction. But if you look at her social media, she's an influencer and she's a pillar of hope.
Developing now, a body without a head was found in the water in Queens. So who is it? What happened? How did it end up there? And why? Eyewitness News reporter Marcus Solis live in Howard Beach with more this morning. Good morning, Marcus.
Good morning, Michelle. All part of the investigation that is now underway. Initially, this came over as a call for a water rescue in the waters of Jamaica Bay, but that was not the case. So it was 9 o'clock last night here, Cross Bay Boulevard, the Cross Bay Bridge, right off of Howard Beach, that police and the FDNY responded again to the report of someone in the water. But when they pull that body to the shore, they realized that not only was the victim deceased, but it was missing a head. And so the question is now, how did that decapitation come to be? All part of the investigation that is underway.
I am a fisherman, so it sounded like a fisherman got, swept out in the water in the bay and drowned or something like that. Then it sounded like they got recovered, but then it was decapitated. So that sounds like there was definitely maybe some foul play involved.
The medical examiner to determine the cause of death, the identity and the age of the victim not yet known. And we're live in Howard Beach. Marcus Solis, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
The police, this 52-year-old man and his wife was both arrested after police found multiple videos and pictures in his phone of his wife violating a family dog. Police said, "We discovered the pictures and videos after we confiscated his phone. We arrested him in H-E-B supermarket for following young children around the store, exposing himself. His wife can be seen in different positions with this massive dog. And I don't know if many people are familiar with the Great Dane, but it's the world's biggest dog breed. Shortly after taking him into custody, we then raided his home, and his wife, his 2 children, and 3 dogs were all taken away because we don't know what kind of environment the children and pets were exposed to." A neighbor told local news, "I would always hear him joke with his wife and call her Ace Ventura pet detective." Both the 52-year-old man and his 53-year-old wife have since then been released on bail.
Woman, for the sake of her boyfriend, killed her daughter and framed her husband. In a quiet Cleveland suburb, The sound of a gunshot shattered the peace of the Benson household, as Edmund Benson lived through every father's nightmare, the loss of his 6-year-old daughter, Navi Ia. Navi Ia, while playing at home, accidentally got hold of her father's gun and tragically turned it on herself. The police swiftly arrived at the scene and arrested Edmund, who faced charges for the girl's death. However, the investigation soon uncovered a sinister plot behind the tragedy. Edmund's wife, Lena, outwardly a loving mother, harbored a devious plan. She switched Navia's toy gun with a real one when Edmund wasn't looking. During what seemed like harmless play, Lena coaxed Navi Ia to point the gun at herself, leading to an irreversible tragedy. The police investigation revealed Lena's true motive. She had a new boyfriend and, in a bid to be with him and claim Edmund's assets, she sacrificed her own daughter. Edmund was arrested for illegal possession of a firearm, but his love for his daughter meant he couldn't escape the weight of the tragedy. Justice, however, did not allow Lena to escape. She and her new boyfriend were quickly apprehended by the police, paying the price for their crimes.
The 16-year-old arrested for allegedly shoving a woman down the stairs at a church in Queens is expected to face a judge tonight.
All right, Fox 5's Antoine Lewis live at the courthouse in Kew Gardens with the latest on the case. Antoine.
Steve, outrage over this attack has reached the very top of the NYPD. Assistant Deputy Operations Commissioner tweeting on social media last night, this violent criminal is where he belongs, in handcuffs. But there now are concerns as to how long that will be the case. Thursday night, just after 9, the NYPD arrested the 16-year-old suspect of this despicable assault and threw him in jail. And not soon enough, says Queens City Councilman Jim Gennaro, as the attack happened in his district.
I think it's great work on the part of the police department. The whole community was in shock, and they want to see justice done.
Last Sunday morning, 68-year-old Irene Taliamboris was on her way inside St. Demetrios Greek Orthodox Church when the suspect comes up from behind and cowardly attacks her, punching her in the face, causing her to fall backwards down the steps. And as Taliamboris is lying on the sidewalk, surveillance video shows him stealing her purse, which contained her wallet, credit cards, cell phone, and $300 cash. Police say that he also stole her car. Irene Taliamboris, mother and grandmother, was rushed to the hospital with life-threatening injuries, including a fractured skull.
She continues to improve, Irene, and she has 2 adult kids that help her out, and she has a favorable prognosis, but still, it's going to be a long road.
District Attorney Melinda Katz's office says the suspect is from Jamaica, Queens, and is also responsible for a similar incident on April 4th, in which a woman was followed from an ATM, robbed, and her car also stolen. This attack has been resoundingly condemned, and for many, the suspect's arrest is causing dual emotions. Relief that he's behind bars, yet anxiety as to whether bail reform laws may not keep him there. A problem Gennaro says Albany could fix by establishing a dangerousness standard, which would allow judges to hold...
Smothering her 2 children to death is expected in court later today. 42-year-old Gloria Asamoah was indicted by a grand jury earlier this week and charged with 2 counts of murder. The twin boy and girl were both found dead in their Mount Hope apartment back on December 18th. Asamoah had originally told police the children had recently been sick at school, but an autopsy determined they'd been smothered.
To breaking news now, and a terrifying story overseas. At least 6 people have been stabbed to death in an attack at a shopping center. It happened in Sydney, Australia. Police say a man suddenly began stabbing people before he was eventually shot and killed by responding officers. Numerous people were attacked, including a small child. We are told that child was wounded. 6 of those stabbed died. No word yet on what may have prompted the attacks.
Now to the stories we brought you earlier in the show. Nicholas McGee just walked out of a Brooklyn precinct. Here's the video we just got into Eyewitness News. He is accused of killing a 39-year-old and then hiding body parts in a freezer. Police say 45-year-old Nicholas McGee killed Kushan Gelzer over some rent dispute in March of 2022. The body parts were discovered this past January, and that's really what sparked this whole investigation. Cops found McGee in custody in Virginia, actually, where he was being held on different charges, and then extradited him back here to New York.
Investigators in Texas say they've arrested a driver accused of intentionally driving a semi-truck into the Department of Safety office today. This happened in a rural town west of Houston. One person is dead, 13 others are hurt. DPS officials say the driver, 42-year-old Clennard Parker, was denied a commercial driver's license yesterday, and so he came back today in a stolen semi-truck.
We will prosecute this person to the full extent of the law, because this will not be tolerated. Not in my hometown and not in our home state.
The suspect is in custody tonight.